Hey, we're back,
There we are, I
Lee.
got my mic on. Hey, we're back. Happy New Year.
Happy
You have
New
a good
Year,
one.
chat. Happy New Year,
Happy
everyone.
New
I
Year
hope
to
you
everybody.
had a lovely Christmas. Welcome to the Snowflake Show, Season 2.
Season 2. We're back with a vengeance.
Season 2.
We've been
Season 2, yes.
renewed.
Yes, we need to put it all. We need to put all of our previous episodes into one playlist to make it easier for people to watch.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is Season 2, Episode 1 of the Snowflake Show. I am your co-host, Regan Ali, alongside...
I'm Lee Corn.
Yes, you are.
Still a bit
And over the
croaky.
next hour or so, guys, we're going to give you the latest news that's been going on, and we'll throw in a couple of funny news stories and some nice warm-hearted stories too. Happy New Year, Lee. We had a lovely Christmas show. It did really well, didn't it?
It did, yeah. There's like 120 views so far, something like that, maybe more than that.
Yeah, so a big thank you to everybody here in the chat and everybody who helped spread that. It was one of our best shows ever, and we had lots of fun doing that. And we hope you guys enjoy our show today too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of weeks off. We've been away. Obviously, Lee's been
ill,
enjoying some time. Lee's been ill, but still enjoying it. I've been keeping the server busy, as you guys know, and I'm going to be keeping it busy the next couple of weeks, as you guys are aware, on the server as well. So we're certainly not going to be quiet. But it's it's another tumbleweed quiet day in the news today, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, quiet always. Nothing happening in the UK in politics at all.
No, nothing at
all.
Who have we got in the chat today, Lee?
Let's have a look. Casper Northern says hi everyone. Hi Casper. Suzanne DeVitt says good evening. As Kendra, Kenzie, hi Susanna. Say good evening. Ginger Giraffe says Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Gingers and everyone else.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too.
And Context says good evening everyone. Evening Context. Casper Northern smiling, laughing. Oh, that was because we're running to Marcus time tonight. Yes, that's partly my fault. There's a lot of stuff going on. Ben Shaw says good evening all. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, Ben.
Happy New Year, Gingers Giraffe says Casper Northern. First show of the year says Kenzie. Yes, Season 2, Episode 1. This is where we jump the shark, I think. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Context says how
Snowflakes of the Realm from Duke Vengeance.
Yes.
Where's that going? How are you, Duke? I hope you're doing well today. I hope.
Chatty Rat says good evening, folks.
And good evening to you, Chatty. I hope you're well too.
I hope everybody had a good Christmas and good New Year and everything went okay.
Yes, we hope so too. Yeah, to everyone here in the chat. It's been we joke that it's been quiet, but there has been so much going on. There's been stuff going on here. There's been stuff going on in America. There's still the war in Ukraine, and
Brazil.
It's just been
they tried to Bolsonaro support
Brazil's own January the 6th, which we're not going to cover. Not going to cover this week. We may cover it in the future. But
Harry's book.
Yeah.
Harry's book, The Spare.
Harry's book. I have not read the book. I have watched.
Fastest selling. Is it the fastest selling non-fiction book in history? Something like that. The highest selling.
I did see a TikTok video of a guy throwing three of those books into his fireplace. I don't know what he was trying to make out there. I imagine the guy was Piers Morgan, but I did watch a good chunk of his interview with Stephen Colbert, which you guys can see on his YouTube channel, Stephen Colbert, if you want a bit of more insight into it, if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Ginger did like an hour-long interview on that.
Was it? Was it like the whole show?
Are interested in that.
Did he do the whole show or something?
I haven't seen the full unedited clip, but I've seen like about a good chunk of it. But it was fascinating to watch and hear and listen to his side of the story of it. But also, if you guys didn't want to get the book, I haven't confirmed this or not, but apparently he's done the audio for the book.
Yes, he's done the audio book, yeah.
So you could even hear lovely Prince Harry tell you his story in his own voice if you wanted to do that as well, if you're mad enough to enjoy that.
Yeah. Ginger says a 6-year-old. sorry, go on. Sorry, what are you going to say before I change the tone?
I was just going to say, even if you want to listen to his lovely smooth voice.
Just changing the tone a bit. Ginger says a 6-year-old pulled out a gun and shot his teacher. That's horrendous. I'm guessing that's
that was just a horrible story. That was. Oh,
and there's in London in Paris this morning, a guy with a knife started stabbing people in Gare du Nord.
Yeah.
6 people.
That was that story. Yeah.
Kendra says, I thought there was a new Harry Potter book for a minute. No, not that Harry. Not that Harry. Two says Blizzard Knights of the Realms. Yeah, we still got the snowflakes. We couldn't decide whether to go back to the old format or just leave this. So I think we'll come with something new.
To be fair, it's still cold out there for us.
It is, yeah. It's still winter, so. Yeah. Casper says I watched it. It was interesting. I'm guessing it means the Harry.
The Harry interview. Yeah. It wasn't interesting.
Joined us as well.
Interesting.
Says evening, folks. Hi, Lefty. I'd rather read The Queen and I than Spare. Okay. Right, so now we've covered all the stuff we're not going to cover. Should we go into the news?
We shall indeed, Lee.
Oh, hang on, I forgot. We didn't do this last time. Forgot about that. Because we didn't do
I was about
news.
to say, I was expecting it.
Yeah, here we go. No, wait a second. News.
Okay. Oh, that was a bit of a jump.
Oh,
so first story of the day, guys. From Sky News. Around 100,000 civil servants to go on strike on February the 1st after PCS announced industrial action. So you guys, we obviously know there's been train strikes. Obviously, there's been strikes, from nurses, and obviously I think it was either today or yesterday there was an ambulance strike as well. So there's lots of strikes taking place. And this just compounds the misery on the British public, as you guys well aware. So the Public and Commercial Services Union says the action will be the largest civil service strike for years and collides with the TUC's Protect the Right to Strike Day, can be avoided if the government puts a pay offer on the table. So it will be the largest civil service strike for years, collides with the TUC's Protection Right to Strike Days announced yesterday in response to the new government legislation. So for the government legislation, they're opposing new anti-strike laws. We'll talk a little bit about that after I just say this as well. The action will involve 124 government departments, and the following walkouts last month involved border force staff, driving examiners, and national highway workers. PCS General Secretary Mark, I'm not even going to say that.
Mark, that guy.
Thank you. Hinted at the prospect of coordinated strike action with other unions on the same day, telling Sky News, I think as long as the government retains its position on refusing to put money on the table, we will see more and more cooperation and coordinations between unions. I don't believe we will be the only union on strike on February the 1st. The PCS union is calling for a 10% pay rise, protections for pensions, and protection from job cuts. We warned the government that our dispute would escalate if they did not listen, and we're as good as our word, they said. He accused the government of treating its own workforce worse than anyone else in the economy. We've been given a 2% pay rise. We've been told tens of thousands of jobs are going to be slashed. Our conditions are going to be cut. And we represent people who deliver public service from cradle to grave. The government estimates the union's pay demands will cost $2.4 billion, which they say are not affordable at a time when public finances are stretched. But the PCS bosses said there's a way of the government trying to avoid a sensible argument. We believe that if you get less than the rate of inflation, you're actually poor for going to work at the end of the year when you were at the start of the year, and that can't be right. He added, even if it's true and it would cost $2.4 billion, that's a tiny fraction the Conservative government was prepared to borrow to give tax cuts to the richest in the government. So the government knows it can afford it.
Yeah.
It knows if it gives us a pay rise, the members will spend it on their local economy, boosting manufacturing and the hospitality sector at the time of recession. Unlike the rich who avoid paying taxes and put money in the Cayman Islands, so it makes sense for the economy, and it makes sense to ensure that civil services are working but are in poverty. More strikes, Lee, more strikes.
Well, I mean, it's exactly right. 10% is what? It's less than the rate of inflation at the moment. So, it's not unreasonable. I I think it was the health workers, the doctors and nurses unions went they had a discussion with the government. Was it Monday or Tuesday? And the government, and
Yeah,
they
so
thought,
they came in with the intention that they were going to be offered some kind of pay, but not in terms of a pay rise, but like a payout, like a one lump sum.
Yeah.
And when they arrived there, they basically were told they're not talking about pay; they were talking about production.
Yeah, productivity. And like the union said, well, first off, like a one-off payment is no good, because the next year you're back to square one. Your wages are still at the same rate that they were last year, and then you're still behind inflation. So you're still going to need a big pay rise, and not just to even try and not even catch up with inflation, but just to basically bring your level up to where it would have been the year before. So that's a nonsense for starters. And the other thing is, like the union said, productivity. How can you improve the productivity? You got people working for free, putting extra hours in, extra efforts, extra shifts, a lot of the time, like you say, unpaid. And they can't work anymore. They physically can't, and people are leaving the nursing and the NHS in the droves because they're under so much stress and pressure. So to try and put it, and like you said, they're not machines. They're not working in a factory. This is about people's lives as well, and the safety of patients. So it's I just think it's ideological. I think it's the government, the Tories just don't want to give in to unions, and they can use it as a way to beat Labour. I think we've talked about this before Christmas. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it is a bit of ideology. Just to point out, nurses are due to walk out again on the 18th and 19th of January. Well, they've also just put down there as well. So next week on the Snowflake Show, the nurses will be out there striking as well.
Yeah, so it's coordinated. They're going to have talking about coordinated strikes as well.
I mean, so there's a lot of what knowledge I've gathered. So obviously, what's been happening obviously is that the Rishi Sunak knows from his position that if he gives in to these strikes, his position will become untenable, which will then lead to again chaos. He feels that because at the moment he doesn't have the this is political as much as this is ideology, because he cannot afford to lose this battle. But the problem is he can't win this battle either, because either way people are pissed off. Right, people cannot get to works, people cannot get their treatments, people cannot afford simple basic needs. The country is coming to a standstill, and I generally believe we're not at that point yet. I've heard a few unions over the last few days that we're not at the point of a national strike, but we are getting there. Because it's if enough of the country is at a standstill, people are just going to get fed up, and whatever side of the no matter how much the right-wing press are pushing this rhetoric and trying to bash doctors and nurses and all that kind of thing, there's a difference between what people actually see, what they read in their papers and what they see on the news, and what they actually see in their hospitals, in their surgeries, and what real people, real doctors, real nurses are telling them. So I do generally believe that there is a concern that that people will turn on the NHS, people will turn on the doctors and nurses because they're getting fed up. I just don't think that's going to happen because of what happened with COVID, and to people to dramatically turn like that. And because I hear a lot more at work, more about the sympathy for doctors and nurses than they do for train strikers. I mean, I can see people turning on train unions, as sad as I don't want to say that, but I just don't think the whole country's going to turn against unions, because at the end of the day, even those people who don't pay attention to any politics at all, Lee, they know that previous Conservative governments and even Labour governments, they will sit down and get round the table to discuss pay. Everybody knows they're not prepared to talk about pay, and that's why everything's at standstill. So people know that the government is at fault, for this, even whatever side of the spectrum you're on. in this regard to these strikes.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope people don't turn against the NHS, the doctors and nurses. I don't get to that point. That'll be horrendous. Oh, we've lost you. We've lost your picture.
Oh yeah, I've just turned it on. Oh, my
It's
back.
just there you go.
Yes, there we go. It's froze for some reason.
So just carrying on from that then. Sorry, I've still got the cough from that cold air before Christmas, so excuse me if I'm a bit croaky and I start coughing. But if we go to this one then.
Comments from the chat then.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah.
Just before we talk about that, so some of the sisters out. Duke Sergeant says, "I go on strike, but I don't have a job. I go on strike, but I don't have a job." I'm sorry, Duke. Chatty Rat says, talking out all civil servants is not the way to go. PSU should take out the revenue collectors and leave the spenders in works as governments can have cash flow problems. Yeah, that's true. Context is saying German police is evacuating Litsua, a little town, so the newest piece of coal mine can be opened. There is still resistance. Yes. My understanding in that story is because Germany is trying to become less reliable on Russia, they're now turning to new coal mines in order to sustain themselves. So it means they're going away from green energy.
Yeah, what's frustrating? Well, the part of the government, the Green Party is part of the government. My understanding is, and the Green Party were also pushing against nuclear, so they basically shut down so much nuclear as part of because after Fukushima. Angela Merkel said, "No, we're getting rid of all nuclear. It's not safe," and they left themselves wide open to being stuck with Russian gas. And so, in order to cover it, they're now having to open coal mines and coal power stations. The ultimate aim, apparently, is to move to totally renewable. But in the meantime, yeah. So you've got a Green Party who's basically effectively now opening coal mines and coal and. If anybody wants to correct me on that, but that's my understanding of it in Germany. So we Scots Dog is here. I don't.
Hello, Doug. Good to see you.
Hope you're well. Right, should we move on to the next one then?
Yeah, let's just. We touched a bit on it already.
I already had it on the screen, didn't I?
Was that it? Was it?
Yeah, health unions. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, we'll just touch a bit on it because obviously we've already kind of covered most of it anyway. But yeah, this from The Guardian. So health unions refuse to give evidence to rigged NHS pay review system. Basically, officials from 14 health unions want to hold direct talks with ministers to agree pay rises for NHS staff. And basically, it's for those, they keep always saying, the government always keeps saying that it's an independent body review, but that is categorically untrue, and it has been argued by interviewers on Sky with the ministers. You can find the videos there yourselves, where they basically saying it's an independent body review, but the people who set up the review are the government.
Yeah,
and it's the government who put them in place. So it's not independent. It's so that speaks for itself. Steve Barclay, the health secretary, is just not. I'm not going to read all of it, but basically, guys, Steve Barclay's just not going to talk about pay in any way, shape, or form. He always keeps talking about productivity, reform, that kind of stuff, but he will not talk or budge or anything about pay. Representatives of 14 health unions say they would not submit evidence about 2023, 2024. So basically, this story is obviously they're not going to submit the evidence for the pay review process because they just want to hide. They want to basically bypass this independent crap and just talk to the ministers directly, basically, because they know it's a rigged system. And so they're not going to so what they normally do is they send it to the independent body for the review for the next year.
Yeah.
That's my understanding, and then obviously they decide what pay rise they should get. But obviously that hasn't been working, and instead they're basically not gonna do it because they know because basically they know it's rigged. It's a really terrible situation because they just they're not asking for they're just asking for enough money to make a living. That's all this is about. They just and we know right now that there's not enough doctors, there's not enough nurses, there's not enough people working in the NHS as it is. And the thing is that they're not even on the visa scheme when it comes to getting doctors and nurses from the EU. So we can't even get doctors and nurses from the EU.
Yeah.
So they're not even on there.
No.
So there's literally there's not enough people. The NHS is forking out millions of pounds in getting consultants and agencies in to help cover it, and of course we know that a lot of money is going straight into private healthcare companies as well, and that's why you've been seeing a lot more pushing from right-wing hosts and right-wing talkers are trying to push the idea that this NHS doesn't work, that we need to go to a health-based insurance system because it doesn't work anymore. So that means that you ordinary people who are already struggling to make ends meet are going to have to fork out hundreds of thousands of pounds of your own cash in order to save your mum from cancer. Yeah, that's basically where they want to go. They don't want this NHS. They want a system where you are paying directly out of your pocket. That's where they want to go, and you only need to look in America to just see how horrible it is, because it means that while most medium incomers may be able to sustain it, and the wealthy obviously can, those on the lower end, those who are poor, means they're going to be less healthy. It's not going to be good for the next generation.
Basically, if you can afford it, you can have healthcare. If you can't afford it, tough. You're on your own.
Yeah, you're basically going to die. And
just looking at the chat,
roughly, is it 200 a week? Sorry, Lee. Is it? I think people are dying because of the. I think it was around about 200 people are dying a week because of the this crisis with the NHS. I think it is.
I didn't see the figures. I think listening to James O'Brien,
I have heard it
this morning. It says 1,000 excess deaths.
I don't know if chat wants to confirm that, but I'm sure I've heard that figure 1 or 2 times anyway. But yes, go on, Lee.
Sorry, it was just So just going back to the chat. Content says this is in the jurisdiction of the state North Rhine-Westphalia, which is not governed by the Greens but by the CDU, which is Merkel's party. I suppose it depends if if it's the government, the German government, rather the federal government rather than the state, then who's pushing for, getting rid of nuclear and everything. And I suppose I don't know how that German system works. Chatty Rat says, sorry, Pedulous, hi Pedulous. Number 3 say hi guys.
Hi number 3 and Pedulous. Good to see you guys.
Pedulous says German Greens are also their fair share of fundamentalists, but they are kept in check by the more pragmatic ones. And since then, they get more votes. Okay. Duke says, my favourite jobs to apply for are entry-level jobs that I need years of experience to apply for. Okay. Pedula says, it's great to see you back, and Suzanne DeWitt. Hope you allows you to stay now. Lefty Doctor says, £121 on medication, £100 on a psychiatric letter to GP this month. Yeah, this is your ADHD, isn't it? Medication. This is about to go private.
Ridiculous.
Because there's anything between like 18 months, 4 to 4 years waiting list to get a diagnosis for ADHD at the moment on the NHS. So unless you go private, but then you end up paying medication for it. Number 3 says 500 excess per week. Excess deaths, I think that is, per week because of the NHS crisis.
It's probably still rising as well.
Yeah. Chatrat says Greens are also in Irish coalition government. Some fundamentalist deputies have lost the whip for opposing the government in parliamentary votes. Sly Cat says I heard 500. Context I've heard about 500. So yeah, it's about 500.
Yeah. So worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
It's going to Lefty Boat says it's going to go up because of bipolar 2 diagnosis too. Oh, I know you're going for that. Oh, yeah, that's going to be
just
Jesus.
yeah.
Take you that
I'm
was
sorry. I'm sorry, Lefty Boat. I really am.
Yeah, hope we all get sorted, but I know it's going to be expensive and I know it's a long road.
Yeah.
So I hope that gets sorted. Yeah, Solari the Cat says the 200 figure was before the strikes. Hi, Solari.
Yeah. Hello, Solari. Sorry, I've only just noticed you there. I hope you're well.
Yeah.
Ginger Duras just says, my new insurance company, Gingers, is from America, for those who don't know. Owns a national pharmacy chain, so hopefully that will decrease the price for me. Yeah. You can tell, just you know, she knows what it's like to go through the hoops just to get healthcare insurance. It's yeah, it's not nice, that's for sure.
Okay, should we go on to, this is the video of Mick Lynch roasting MPs or roasting people in committee meeting.
Well, it's not so much this one ain't the roasting one, but if you want, there is the full video on Politics Show if you guys want to see it, but this is a bit of the unions basically making their point to the ministers in the committee today about the strikes and that. It's about 2 minutes long, so gives us a better insight.
Okay.
In very broad terms, how close are we to having these disputes resolved? On a, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, whereas 1, you remain on different planets, 10, I can go out and buy a hat for the wedding. Where are we, Mr. Whelan?
Thank you, Chair. I think you include 0 in your 1 to 10, and we're further away than when we started.
Right.
Last week, late on a Friday evening, leaked to the press before we'd even had a chance to look at it or see it or open the email, was a deal that was sent out, contained many of our red lines, many things we hadn't discussed, and actually smashed the enabling agreement we have. I'm naturally being questioned all the time on what my view on that deal is. I'm incredibly open. I cannot recommend any one element of it, and it may destroy the ability to go back to those talks in future.
It's daft. To me, it's sabotage. And they wanted these strikes to go ahead. They knew that going forward with the imposition of change in Network Rail and DOO would provoke a reaction. They got the reaction. They let the strikes go ahead over Christmas. They didn't lift a telephone or lift a finger to get them off. They brought forward stage-managed releases in the last week about minimum service levels, about disruption, and all the rest of it, about me and various other people in the industry, all primed through certain press outlets. And the whole thing has been completely stage managed leading up to Monday's sessions with the trade unions.
So, yeah, guys, it's they're just not preparing to talk to them. Obviously, if you guys want to see the full committee hearing, I'm sure Denny Blase will have some videos up once he's covered them as well on his video. But if you guys want to see the full thing as well, you can see it on Politics Show on their YouTube channel, because they do have the full committee hearing if you guys want to check that out, because there is some roasting on those MPs. I can assure you of that from the union leaders. Oh, Lee, I can't hear your mic.
Sorry, I turned the mic off. Yeah, sorry, I had the sound playing from the next video, so there's a bit of rushing water there. Apologies.
That's all right.
Right, should we move on to Ukraine then?
Yeah, it's been a while. Did we cover Ukraine?
I don't think we
haven't
did.
covered Ukraine for a while,
no,
but it's this from the BBC. Obviously not the best, but well, we wanted to talk a little bit about it, because obviously we would like to know what's been happening. Obviously, you know, there's been obviously lots of rocket and artillery fire going across back and forth for each other over the Christmas and at the start of the new year. So Ukraine battle hints at a rift in pro-Russian forces. So Russia's defense ministry says its forces are taking part in the battle for Soledar, the town north of Bakhmut, if I pronounced that wrong, I apologise. In East Ukraine, which has been the focus of recent fighting. It comes after the head of Russia's notorious brutal Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Pergazin, claimed his fighters were in full control there and boasted that only his troops took baths. Mr. Pergazin will most likely use any victory to bolster the reputation of Wagner as an effective fighting force in the eyes of President Putin. But the Russian defense military appealed to contradict the controversial oligarch claims. Spokesman Igor said that the military daily update that Soledar had been blockaged from the north and the south units by Russian airborne forces. The Russian Air Force is carrying out strikes on enemy strongholds. Assault troops are taking part in battles inside the town. There are no mention of Wagner's forces. Ukraine Defense Ministry also said on Wednesday that heavy fighting continues and Wagner's forces have had no success in breaking through its defences. So there seems to be a bit of a miscommunication there.
Yeah. I've been following this. So Soledar is a little town just north of Bakhmut. Bakhmut is seen as a key town because it's like got a main road going through it, which for supplies and things like that.
If you scroll down, there's a map.
Oh yeah, okay. There's a map. So let's have a look at the map. Then you'll be able to see it. There we go. So Soledar is just. I can't point to it on the thing. Soledar just above Bakhmut. It's a tiny town really, but they've absolutely pounded it, and it's been street fighting, been going backwards and forwards between the two. They tried to. What they've effectively done is kind of encircled it from the north and the south. But I think the Ukrainians are literally bedded in with defensive lines just to the west of it and to the south, to stop them trying to then encircle Bakhmut. But this has been going on for a couple of weeks at least now in Soledar, and it's horrendous. Just it's like from the stories that I've heard, just horrendous numbers of casualties on both sides. Probably won't be much left of the town, city, whatever you want to call it, when it's done. And Bakhmut is similar, but the focus has really been on Soledar, just so the Russians can say they've captured this town, which is, like I say, tiny.
Just to give them some kind of victory, saying we pushed back or something. Yeah.
But it's literally chucking these Wagner Group former criminals into it, just chucking them forward. You go in there, try and take the street, whatever. Yeah, not nice. Horrendous, to be honest.
Oh. But they haven't has that been been the only kind of pushes that they've been doing this year?
It's pretty much that Soledar, Bakhmut. There's a few other little ones, but that's the main focus at the moment on the Russian side.
So the limited Russian military control looks like where they've been trying to possibly push, maybe?
That's where they've been pushing, yeah. So you can see the parts held or regained by Ukraine. And they're making tiny progress. So this is really slow stuff, because the Ukrainians are dug in, basically defensive lines all down that eastern side.
Yeah, I mean, Ukraine have done well to push back as much as they have over the last several months, and obviously they need to, just for now.
I think they're holding out for the really cold winter, because the ground hardens and the tanks can move more freely. It's when you look into it,
I heard they were getting British tanks as well.
There's talk of that, I did see they got in some.
Well, it's not confirmed, I don't think, but they were talking about it, and then the Russians basically laughed about it or something as well in response to it.
I'm not sure, but if you see the Russian tanks, they're not exactly high tech. They've been using like World War II tanks and all sorts. So it's very limited. They didn't have like egg boxes on instead of proper those protective. There's like protective stuff that's supposed to explode to blow up any missiles, any artillery that comes in, and they're just like empty boxes inside.
There was also nothing concrete, but possible talks between the two sides. But both Ukraine have made it clear they want their country back.
Yeah,
and,
they want Crimea and everywhere back.
Russia want like something, and it's like, no, mate, that's not how it works,
Yeah.
So
I think
there's very unlikely to come around the table unless Russia are willing to give back. I don't know if they'll be willing. I don't think they're not going to. Well, whatever discussions,
Putin isn't going to be willing to walk away with and leave Ukraine, leave Crimea and places like that. So,
yeah, as number 3 says, it could be a long war. It is going to be a long war, sadly.
Zhao Mariros is here. So hi, the Russian Dyslexic Show. Hi everyone. Hi, Casper.
I hope you're well.
Some Martian beast needs to control the highway, and they're wasting resources away. Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. They're trying to control that road. You see much Russian tanks. Guess why? There's another situation where after after the invasion and everything, and they kind of repelled a lot of them, the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians ended up with more Russian tanks, more tanks than they started the war with, because they were just picking up Russian tanks in fields that the Russians had just left and ran away from.
Just get the farmers to drive them.
Yeah, number 3
just
says
get the Ukrainian farmers to drive.
Yeah, they were just towing them in tractors.
The farmers have stolen a fair share, so get them to drive the tanks, and then the soldiers can support the soldiers. Then,
number 3 says the Ukrainians have to pay for the weapons. I think there's kind of a lend-lease thing going on with America, similar to what the Britain had during the Second World War. So I don't know how that'll work, but the new Russian says the new Russian tanks haven't done as well as they hoped. No, so that's what I heard as well.
That I've heard as well, Casper. I think they've lost more hardware than they did in Afghanistan. Yeah. But
probably more lives as well, I think.
What was I could be wrong because I'm pretty sure I've read this somewhere, but I think when the war in Afghanistan, they lost up to 500,000 soldiers in that war in Afghanistan before they decided to finally throw it in the towel.
I can't remember.
I could be wrong. On that, but I know they've lost at least 100,000. Russia have lost at least 100,000 soldiers. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it depends
at least 100,000.
Whose figures you look at, whether you look at Ukraine's or Russia's official figures.
I probably would look more in Ukraine's, but that's the estimated counts. Yeah. But chat can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But
well,
the
thing with just going back to Afghanistan, I think in Afghanistan was the mothers of Russia, of the soldiers who were the ones who basically said, "Hang on a minute, why are all our children dying?" Someone I can't remember who was saying this. There's like towns, because basically Russians have mobilized not from mainly around Moscow, or the big cities, but from like really out in the middle of nowhere towns, where they know that nobody's really nobody's gonna notice this, or the people in Moscow and St. Petersburg and places like that aren't going to notice. Yeah. And there's like whole towns where there's no men left in the towns because they've all been mobilized. And probably a lot of them have been killed. So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
It's just it's horrendous all round, and Putin has got a lot to answer for, but anyway.
Yeah. And as always, guys, we'll keep up on it, and any news I'll try and post on the server as well, because I've got a thread for that as well, for anything on Russia and Ukraine.
Could be a long while. Right. Okay. Should we move on? Sorry, I was still left on the screen, didn't I? What else have we got to do?
Yes.
Westminster accounts.
We just wanted to touch. We're not going to read the article because it's a couple of days old, but you guys are aware of the Westminster accounts. MPs taking the mick. I mean, it's like that. Just that headline itself, Lee. Like MPs earning 17.1 million on top of their salaries, with the Tories taking 15.2 million.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I think you guys may have seen this picture on I'm trying
to find
live streams as well.
Find it now.
It's on the same article if you scroll down.
Is it on the same article?
Same article if you scroll down.
Yeah, I did have that one. Right, okay.
So if you just pull that up for the chat. You guys have seen this before.
Can't.
Yeah, Theresa May.
2.5 million since
Two and a
December
half million.
2019.
That has been she has been a very busy woman, hasn't she, Lee?
Mm. Oh yeah, so busy. Yeah, I mean, to earn 2.5 million. I mean, she can get on the housing ladder now.
It's funny because when Sky News broke the story a couple of days ago, they were asking some of her constituents, and some were not happy. Some were like, well, as long as she's doing her job, it doesn't matter. It's the same when people were asking about David Lammy there, because David Lammy's one of the highest earners in Labour. But he obviously does LBC, so he obviously talks on LBC. He hasn't had that much criticism from people, and he does get paid to do speaks and other stuff. But he's much open to discussing it with people as opposed to all the blue people in this list here.
Yeah. So Geoffrey Cox, I mean, he was a guy who was working during lockdown. He was working in the Caribbean. I can't remember which country it was, which nation, and he was basically working with them on how to avoid paying taxes to the UK government or something. He was doing.
Pretty much, yeah. Just get around it.
He was just finding ways to helping them to find ways to get around it. Which, considering he's a part of the UK government, was ridiculous, disgraceful, and he's getting paid for it, like say over 2 million. Boris Johnson, apparently most of that is for speaking?
Yeah, pretty much. He got paid tons of money to speak. Blah 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 blah.
$1 million.
Here's a load of money.
He got paid about 250,000 for each one, for speaking engagements.
It's just so stupid. I don't know why you pay a ridiculous amount of money for a guy who can't even talk properly.
Yeah, he can't. He can't. Did you see? Did you see? Grant Shapps photoshopped him out of a picture with the Virgin Orbit rocket.
Yes, we saw. I'm pretty sure most of the chat was on Max's live stream yesterday, and we saw that. That there was this. He was showing there was this one where he wasn't so much a picture. But basically, you could swipe it to show Boris Johnson in, and then swipe it to have Boris Johnson out of the picture.
I saw it because I was on the Virgin. We were trying to find like video for what my daughter wanted to watch the launch. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest. But anyway, she will watch. So I'm scrolling through the page, and up pops that picture. This was before obviously this Photoshop thing. I was like, oh look at that guy, and he just like his hair's everywhere, and he's like suits with a little fitting. He's just like, God, what a mess. Imagine he was our Prime Minister. Yeah. Oh dear. But anyway.
It's all right. We had Liz Truss for a bit.
Oh yeah.
If we can't laugh about it, we're only going to cry, guys.
Oh, yeah. So just on this, we had this was something. So this was going back to August 2022, and this was about 2 miles away from here. So it was quite. And when I was looking at this Westminster,
2 miles from where roughly you live.
Right, yeah. So 2 miles roughly from where I live. In fact, it's on the estate my gran used.
Because we're basically switching gears here, guys. Yeah. But it is
related
linked to corruption on the local level.
Well, it's related to these Westminster papers that Sky News and Tortoise Media have done. And this is basically my gran used to live in the same estate as this happened. So I'll show you this, and let me show you get the actual picture of it. So basically, just in the middle of an estate in August last year, this 15-meter tall metal telegraph pole with a big spike on the top appeared in the middle of an housing estate. Now this apparently also happened in lots of towns in the north of England, northwest, northeast. Do you know what was the common thing? Oh, there's no planning permission. There was no warning to the local council or anything about these. It was just put up. Do you know what the common thing about these big telegraph poles appearing in these towns and northern towns?
They give you 6G and they were linked to COVID somehow?
No, you actually it's supposed to be 6G, but basically, under this Westminster paper thing, they found that this company called IX Communications or IX Wireless donated lots and lots of money So lots of northern MPs, mainly Conservative ones, in northern towns. And coincidentally,
I wonder why.
these northern MPs also voted in favour of removing restrictions on communications companies on the kind of things that they could do, and allowed them to put stuff up wherever they wanted without any having to get planning permission. These also appeared in the MP, for example, for Cheadle-Hulme, which this is a constituency, is also one of those people who received money from IX Communications, and this is actually IX Communications who put this up. So basically, it came out in the Westminster Papers that they basically gave a load of money to these MPs in these northern towns, and in each one of these northern towns, one of these things appeared, at least one. And trying to flog 6G wireless or 6G internet to the local residents. Apart from that, they got really good internet connections there, and 5G connections and all the rest of it.
Yeah, so basically they're going to turn around and say, yeah, well, you got a bit of a metal pole sticking up, but you got better internet, so you're going to complain. So why are you complaining? Basically, well, we didn't ask for a big giant metal pole sticking out the front of my garden. Thank you. You know.
In this case, Stockport Council have told them to take it down because they didn't come back and tell them the reasons why they put it up in the first place. But yeah. So Larry the Cat says Sky went to chat with the owners of the IX comms at the address they listed, and it was a townhouse. Guess what? Nobody answered the door. Yeah, I think
I saw the video earlier today.
So yeah, it's all linked. I saw it and I was like, that looks like, when I saw the article IX and they're talking about these mass appearing in towns, I was like, that looks like this one here that had happened in August, and I checked it up, and lo and behold, same company. So yeah, corruption. There you go. Money goes into
corruption
MPs
on a local level, guys.
Local level. But that's just an example of one company. There's another company, it was MPM or something, and they were registered at a derelict house, I think it was. And there's they've got no employees, yet they're giving hundreds of thousands of pounds to MPs. For what? Who knows? Nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean they'd say this is what happens when private companies more than ever know that if they just flog enough money to MPs, they're going to bend the rules for them, and the scandals are just going to be relentless, not just between now and when this government over, but long after, when Labour are in power, because you're going to see it trickle out, like that Conservative governments approved this is what also happened in your local area. It's just going to keep going on and on and on. It's just more taxpayers' money going down the toilet, and you don't even know it's happening.
Well,
everyone knows there's more under the bed, and under the bed or in the skeleton closet. There's so much more in there that we don't know.
Xiao says the Russian supermarket tours videos are funny. They even have foreign guys living in Russia doing the tours. Empty malls are a nice liminal space experience. Sorry, Cat says Boris earns more in 1 week than a nurse earns in a year. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't an hour if you worked out the amount of time he spent on those speeches. You earn in an hour more than what a nurse.
The same nurses that saved his life as well.
Yeah.
Let's just point that out.
A pound is a strange cup of tea.
I don't blame you, Duke.
Hubby, Slavy Cat says Hubby has shares in G4S and owns big pot farms. Who's that? That's interesting. Who are you referring to there?
Hubby, isn't that a retailer? I think. Or am I thinking of something else?
I think you meant like husband. I don't know. I know that John Finnegan is a solicitor and still practices. Yeah, he's as Casper Northern is also a member of Sinn Féin, who refused to take their seats at Westminster. So he was on that list of he was the green one we were talking about before on that list.
Yes, we were off before we went live. Yeah, I've had a feeling it was either DUP or only Caroline Lucas is the only Green MP, isn't she?
Yeah.
So.
I can understand. Joe says I can understand why the UK is not an incompatibility and exclusivity law for MPs, and a mandatory report of all the MPs and direct family owners of profession.
Can you imagine if all this was made private, guys? Imagine if they weren't, if they didn't have to make this all public. They would do so much more.
Yeah.
Behind up, it would be so much worse.
Well, you look. I mean, you look.
Like-
One was it the fourth or fifth biggest donor to UK MPs was the Qatari government, and yet you look at the European Union, and is it 3 MPs have currently been suspended with criminal action against them, criminal investigations against them, for taking money from the Qatari government for lobbying, because it's against the law. You know, it's just, you look at that and you look at what's happening here, and it's like, which ones are more corrupt? The one that actually investigates and suspends people. Although, I mean, Andrew Bridgen was suspended for 5 days.
They went right after Keir Starmer, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because he got donations from Just Stop Oil as well. The Labour Party got donors from the Just Stop Oil campaign, and they made a big deal about it in Sky News. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a big deal in the right-wing media. And I'm just like, oh, that's not corruption. Like, not on the. Like, I would say. I'll take that back. actually. It's technically they shouldn't be taking.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, taking money from private donors, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're not really.
But it's still nothing on the scale of the Conservative Party. Yes, we will criticise Labour when they are in power and when they're going to be held to account. But they're not the ones in power right now. The Conservatives are.
But when people give money, especially large sums of money to MPs. And all-party parliamentary groups are another one that a lot of money's been going through. It's come out from this. They expect something in return. They're not giving the money for the goodness of the heart. They expect to have at least influence people to think, oh, is this in their best interest, this money that you give me £100,000, is it in the best interest when I make this vote, to vote this way? And I'm sure there will be phone calls and messages saying, oh, we prefer it if you didn't vote this way because X, Y, Z. It wouldn't be good for us.
Jess Phillips was in the top 20 with 162,000. She earned 25,000 for appearing on Have I Got News for You, and 30,000 shy of it for columns in the Independents. Outside owners for the Liberal Democrats totaled 171,000 as well. Sarah Davey, I think he's the leader of the Lib Dems, was 21st highest owned MP. So,
just going back to excuse me, Soledar the cat. About hubby has shares in G4S and owns Big Pot Farms. That's Maybot's old man, so Theresa May's old man. Yeah, he had, which was interesting because we were giving contracts to G4S for different things at the time when she was in charge and in the Home Office, in charge of the Home Office as well. Does all this bad news sound like a stain campaign to you? Perhaps I'm paranoid. Imagine a private government. Well, yeah. OCP.
Yeah, can't run a country all on privatisation because all on complete and total privatisation because all privatisation companies, at least the vast majority of them, rely on profits.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad used to say, "Oh, they're selling off all the water and everything to all these private companies, and they're all going to be foreign owned and everything." This was like 20 years ago. He was right, but he was also buying shares and selling them himself in these like British Gas and other companies. So I don't know. But that's just me.
Shall we move away from all this bad news?
Because I'm getting really well. Yeah, let's listen to somebody else tell us about bad news instead and get annoyed.
Dystopia warning, obviously. Not going to sugarcoat it for you. Shit's terrifying right now. If you have an accident or you get seriously ill, you're very likely to die. And that's not because of striking workers. That's because those fuckers have ground our NHS into the dirt over the last 13 years. It's negligence. It's corruption. It's flagrant self-interest. It's the fact that it's a socialist institution that helps the poor and needy. The poor and needy are a burden to them. And there's no social care system. And that's why paramedics are spending entire shifts queuing outside hospitals. And where are Tweedledee and Tweedle Fuckface? On holiday until January the 9th. Oh no, tell a lie. Sunak did that weird New Year's speech, didn't he? In which he set out 5 pledges that mean fuck all to any of us, besides the NHS, obviously, but that was way down the list. Do you know what was also on the list? Small boats. Their culture war red meat issue, which they're trying to wave in front of us to prey on our fears, even though the reason that there's such a problem with refugees is the fact that they won't process any of the fucking claims. But there he stood, looking like a cross between Will from In-Betweeners and that final scene from Big, you know, where Tom Hanks is walking down the road and his clothes are getting all big and he's transforming into a small boy. That's what it was like. Oh yeah, and maths. A dead cat to wave around. We don't see the fact that many hospitals are running out of mortuary space. The sociopaths are proud of it too. Look at this Stockton South Conservative MP grinning outside a hospital with loads of queuing ambulances outside. He might as well be doing that at a fucking graveside. This is what our ambulance workers are dealing with. Real stories from real NHS workers. 40 minutes on scene without backup at a cardiac arrest. Patients dying on trolleys with zero dignity. That could be you, sitting at home waiting for an ambulance that doesn't turn up. If the ambulance does turn up, you might die in it outside a hospital. If you get into a hospital, you'll probably die in a fucking corridor. And what caused this? They caused it. Look at what their Brexit did to NHS staffing levels. A massive resurgence in cases in China. What's their plan? What they have written down in crayon includes letting people voluntarily test when they get here, and if they're positive, no restrictions. People say Sunak's appeasing an authoritarian regime. He is, but it's not fucking China. It's the ERG. It's his own swivel-eyed loony backbenchers, who he's relying on because he's a weak, unelected puppet. This could be your dad. It could be you. If you're scared, remember, government should be afraid of their people. People should not be afraid of their government. Support the strikers. Fuck these clowns. Get them out.
Here to help you find the one with the longest.
Well,
sorry.
Ah! Damn adverts. Superwoman there speaking on our behalf.
Yeah.
Love her.
I was going to say
Always
something, but I didn't
her.
want to swear, so I won't.
We don't need to. She can do it for us.
Yeah, so Zhao says, please can someone tell Sunak to wear a suit that doesn't make him look like a ventriloquist puppet. The problem is he's only about that. He's only about that big, so that's why he looks like a ventriloquist puppet, because there's the size of one. Tweedledee and Tweedle. Yes, she is really funny. Great little super tan. Yes. So,
shall we dive into a nice
something
funny story?
Funny, yeah. This one. I've only read the headline and it made me laugh.
Yeah,
so,
I've only read the headline too. So yeah, it's not too much into it, but yeah, typical funny on news. Woman drives onto ferry thinking it was a bridge over the River Thames.
Is it? I'm going to guess this is the Woolwich ferry.
This story literally dropped him. I only saw this story drop like a couple of hours ago, believe it or not. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, we got to share this. So this is from the Metro. A woman who mistakenly drove onto a ferry thinking it was a bridge over a river was left bewildered. Sophie, a radio presenter and voice-over artist from Lancashire, made the wrong turn on her morning commute across the Thames last Friday. The 28-year-old filmed the moments after she realised her blunder as the boat pulled away from the dock and began its 5-minute journey to Woolwich. She told her TikTok followers, I literally cannot cope with myself. I have tried to cross the Thames River on what I thought was a road, and I actually ended up on a ferry. Like, I'm on a ferry. To satisfy any skeptics, Sophie filmed the park cars around her and the North London skyline as it pulled away. She added, I just can't even. How? Anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy my boat. The original video titled Plain Sailing X has more than 1.4 million views on social media.
Should we have a look?
Follow-up.
Should we just have a quick look?
I'll go on, Empire.
Go on.
If there's not going to get added.
I literally cannot cope with myself. I have just tried to cross the River Thames on what I thought was a road, and I have actually ended up on a ferry. Like I'm on a ferry. I'm on a ferry. Like.
At which point did you think?
I'm just trying to commute. I'm just trying to commute to work. I thought it was a road, and I'm on a freaking ferry. So, I can't even how. Anyway, I'm gonna go and enjoy my boat ride.
The thing is, it's like you have to queue up to get on the Woolwich ferry. It's not like you just drive straight onto it. And plus,
in a follow-up video, Sophie blamed the mistake on direction-finding app Waze. So she blamed it on that.
Waze. Yeah, well, Waze really did it itself this time. I'm literally on a boat.
I actually feel like I'm drunk because everything is spinning.
Yeah, she must have been really stuck in traffic, just queuing up to get on the Woolwich ferry. I must admit, I used to cross the Thames every day, and I never actually ended up on the Woolwich ferry.
There's a few tweets. Someone's just just one tweet comment or something on this, like someone on Twitter saying Waze is the worst map. Now I have to explain to my friend that the reason I'm 2.5 hours late for brunch is because I ended up on a ferry. Next one, he says, I stopped using Wires the day I ended up I ended up in a ferry, gonna try get home from Greenwich Bay, ain't gonna lie, it was faster, but that's not the point.
Well, you have to pay for the Woolwich ferry. It's not free either, is it? So surely somebody.
Well, once you're on there, they only need
once
to
you're
like
that far in the
card.
queue, you're going over that. You're going on that ferry.
Once you're on it, you're buggered because you're gonna pay. You gotta pay the men and the women on there.
Yeah, because you can turn off toll roads and stuff like that. But I suppose just didn't think having ferries on there.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh.
No, it was so Joe. It's basically there's a ferry, the Woolwich ferry. I think it's 2 boats that basically just shuttle backwards and forwards across the Thames because there's so much traffic trying to cross the river at that part as you get further east across. And the Woolwich ferry basically just like pulls up, cars drive on it drives across the river, and then they drive on the other side. I know people who used to take it every day, but yeah. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I know you're driving, but literally, like, you can even see the signs as well, and you know when you're driving onto a ferry or something because you're literally surrounded by a car ferry. You know, I'm just gonna point that out there.
There's probably a guy telling them where to stop. You know, park. Come on this way, and then stop there.
Like I've been on car ferries, and I was like, I realise I'm going on a car ferry.
Oh dear.
Then again, I'm not a driver, so how the hell would I?
At least there's a Tory ferry. It actually exists. I think this is one. This is another one that wanted to get a bridge or a tunnel or something to replace the Woolwich ferry. Mr. Boris Johnson, because he.
Mom, why are people speaking French?
Right, so should we do should we do Colin?
What's that one? Oh yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, so
yeah, we'll do that, and we'll do that.
Yeah, we've done an hour now, so.
Colin is in Portsmouth. Hello, Colin.
I am disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted. The British public is being spoon-fed the wrong news by Romaniac lizards, and Rishi Sunak is doing nothing about it.
Well, I wouldn't hold that against him, Colin. There's plenty of issues that Rishi Sunak's doing nothing about.
Yesterday, right, we heard the dreadful news that schoolgirls are wearing trousers. And yet, on the same day, it came out that some nurses just happened to be using a food bank, and a water company had poured sewage directly into a nursery or something. Now, you tell me what the nation focuses attention on. Typical bloody cheat.
Who's behind this, Colin? Who's controlling this global narrative? Remainers.
All these Remainers stopping us focusing on what really matters. The Remainers like Nick Clegg. He owns Facebook. He's controlling the political narrative here. Tell me, has Nick Clegg got shares in British schoolgirls' trousers?
What other news story has been a deflection tactic against the real matters? The war in Ukraine.
Yeah, so Marks and Spencer released their Easter eggs, and yet none of them say Easter. And yet on the exact same day, Putin decides to march into Donbass or something, and the leftist BBC puts that top of the news at 10. Wake up, Anthony.
That makes Putin a Remainer. So Putin and Nick Clegg, they're strange bedfellows. So who stops Putin and Nick Clegg if Rishi Sunak's undercover?
I'll tell you who, Nadine Dorris. She's our only hope. You won't catch her wearing trousers. Anyway, thanks for having me on, mate. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
She's a sleeper agent for Boris. We know he's inside her.
Oh, God. No, not that image. Please.
We don't need that image, please. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Oh, no.
Number 3, so I just realised I'm watching a live stream.
For the record.
I just realised I'm watching live. What do you think you're watching? Is it like pre-recorded? No, it's not. We are live. Although some of these bits are pre-recorded.
Love to the family as always, guys. Yes. Oh, dear. Right, we are a bit over the time. We did have a good news story, but what I'll do is we'll leave it for next week. We'll leave it for next week, Lee.
Which one was it? I can't remember. Oh, the family, the homeless family.
One, yeah. We'll leave that one for next week.
Okay.
We'll definitely if not cover that, we'll try and cover that next week. Lee's been a busy bee today. I've been a busy bee. Obviously, he's not 100%. Hopefully, he will be a lot better next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
And it's a little bit different next week, isn't it, Lee? Something's, I don't know. I've been told something's happening on that day next week. I can't quite put my finger on it now. Oh,
is there what's it?
Someone's birthday, I was told.
Is it? Next Wednesday?
I think 18th of January. Oh yeah, it's my birthday.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Regan. We can have a birthday celebration.
Yeah, we have to give him some cake to pass over. He has to pass me some cake over. Oh no, that side he's got to pass me some birthday cake over.
You can have a chocolate digestive. I'll go as far as that. Have you?
So
I think isn't there?
Yeah, it is actually going to fall on my birthday next week's Snowflake Show. Believe it or not, chat. So yeah, a bit weird that, but we got one more video. Obviously, we'll do as our outro. Is it Matt Green? Is it we got
Matt Green? Yeah, you're gonna do the usual.
Yeah. We will. I will do in a second. Yeah. So Matt Green's going to do us with the outro. But just before we guys wrap things up, just want to say for everyone who's been here, thank you guys so much for coming along, hanging out in the chat, clicking that like button. I know not all of you have clicked it. You are a blue Tory if you do not click the like button. I'm just letting you know now, so you have been warned. If you also can, if you can share the video across other social media platforms, that'd be greatly appreciated, guys, because we always want to get ourselves out there for other people to see. And of course, if you hit the little bell icon, the ding 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 bell icon next to subscribe, click that, so you'll be notified when we go live as well. And for those who don't know, Lee, we also have a Discord server, don't we?
Yes, where we do a post stream chat, and I'll put a link. I know you remind you're saying that to remind me to put the link on, aren't you? But if I do that, I lose you.
But why you put
you
the post?
Disappear.
Why you put the? Yep, but why you put the post for the link for our Discord server, which is free, by the way, and you're free to join. And we run games nights at least once a week at least. We'll run it. We had a movie night. I was hosting Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, which is a classic film, last Sunday, and we'll be doing another film in a few weeks' time as well. And then we also do a music night where we also share some of our. We do once a month as well, which we share some of our favourite music. Which was our second one we done last week or week before we did, which was absolutely fun as well. And we also tried to notify you guys whenever some of our other popular YouTubers, whenever they go live, I try to put their events in as well on the server. So in case you guys aren't notified or aren't aware, you'll see that they go live on the server as well. So I also like to try and spread the love around to other YouTubers as much as I possibly can. And obviously we get lots of news there as well, and funny stuff, some quotes, motivational bits, games, obviously stuff, music, films, all sorts. So feel free to join. It's completely free. And hopefully if you guys do join, we can see you guys just after the show in the After Dark chat.
Yeah. Casper Nolan says, thanks for another great show. Thanks, Casper. Ben Shaw says, cheers, guys. Night, everyone. Take care. Night, Ben. João Moreira says, arrived late, but this was fun. Have a great week, guys. Have a great week, folks, in the stream. Thanks, João. Have a great
guys.
Week. Kendra says, you better bring some cake and champagne, Regan. Yeah.
I don't drink champagne, so you can bring the champagne.
Yeah, well, Kendra's in France. She can get decent champagne quite cheap as well. So, yeah, Kendra can bring the champagne.
Bloody snowflakes, what are you trying to say, Duke?
Casper says, night, everyone, take care. Chatty Rez says, good night all and sleep well, or an attempt to the Irish. Number 3 says, good night all and thanks. So with that,
thank you for dropping by, number 3. Much appreciated. And for everyone in the chat, thank you guys for dropping by. And
Wee Scott's Dog says, night all Slancher. Night Wee Scott's Dog. Good night everyone. Can we at least have the cup of tea?
Yeah,
good night,
just before you guys run off, obviously we've got one more video for the outro. So, guys, obviously we're back again next week, same time, Wednesday 9 o'clock. Unless something changes, we'll let you guys know. But from just for now, we'll see you guys in the Discord server.
Discord server after. See ya. Have a good week.
Bye.
Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 prime ministers in a year. 5 pledges, 5 pledges, 5 pledges. Your priorities, your priorities. Boris Johnson is a pillock. Boris Johnson is a pillock. How's my hair? Yeah. Do I look honest and trustworthy? More than the last two at least? What do I have to do? Prime Ministerial. Prime Ministerial. Hello, people of Britain. I am your Prime Minister. Still. I wanted to talk to you about my plans for the next year. Although I'm only looking as far as about June, which feels realistic. Let me be clear. I will only promise what I can deliver, and I will deliver what I promise. I'm like Amazon Prime. I'm the Amazon Prime Minister, if you will. In that I'm extremely rich, I hate unions, and I just can't help putting small companies out of business. If I could sum up my agenda in just one word, it would be delivery. In 2 words, it would be deliver, delivery. In 3 words, yes, deliver, delivery. In 4 words, yes, deliver, delivery, please. You get the idea. And just like a delivery company, if things go wrong, we'll change the name at the top. Now, there has been some criticism of my decision to go to Leeds via private jet. As I said to Grant Shapps, I wish you could have airbrushed me out of that aeroplane. But look, my time as Prime Minister is precious. If travelling by air saves me a few minutes that I can spend making a trailer for my next video, then surely that's got to be worth a few tons of CO2. Anyway, I thought it would be nice for the people of the North to see a private jet. That's not something they get to witness every day. Did someone say levelling up? Probably not me. And look, I understand why people might want me to use an NHS doctor instead of going private, but using the trains as well? What next? Do you want me to get on a bus? To iron my own ties? Be reasonable. The next year will be tough. For all of us. For me, mostly politically. For you, financially and existentially. So in many ways, I've got it worse. I have to go now. I've been trying so hard to look empathetic, I think I might have pulled a muscle in my face. Better go and ring Booper. I mean...
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Monday.com makes Gantz great again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not